Welcome to the game. I'm Russ Cohen. We've got Nico Riesgo. Nico, how are you?
Russ Cohen, my man.
And Michael Jello, how are you?
Hey, how are those Yankees doing?
Well, we'll get to them. Uh, I wanted to. I'm going to start with the Mets though, simply because even tonight on the broadcast, they mentioned how they're still only 3.5 out on of the wild card, and I hate this new wild card because every team that is only 3.5 out is at least 3 to 5 games under 500. These teams don't deserve to make the playoffs. They don't deserve a chance to have a shot at the World Series. These are bad teams. The teams that the Mets can beat now are the Marlins and, one out of every three series. It's like they're not built for anything. They don't deserve anything. And Mike, I hate this whole setup because these other teams that get in, there's no fan that could actually think these teams have a chance to win the World Series.
No, it's an absurdity. But when you have teams like the Arizona Diamondbacks, who were not a good team during the regular season last year, but got hot at the right time and got to a World Series, that's the new normal. It's the reality. It sucks. I think it's an embarrassment to the sport. Now, I'm not saying go back to, have one team in the American League and one team in the National League win like it was, pre the wild cards or pre the divisions, but it's getting to be absurd.
Nico, what's your thoughts?
You know what? The Mets have actually improved. I can say they're on the uptick. I really like the fact that they sat McNeil down. He needed a break because they really need him to put the bat on the ball. I like the way they're not playing any games. They're holding their players accountable, and they're getting wins. I'm actually I don't believe they're going to lose 100 games anymore. They've convinced me that
Wow. So they've gotten so good that they won't lose 100, but they're still going to lose like 90.
Yeah, but it's like they're heading in the right direction, Russ. They're going forward.
But the point is that team, as currently constructed, does not deserve to be anywhere close to a playoff spot.
Right. They don't. They really don't. I mean, again, I've watched enough games. Yes, Nico, some of these things that Nico's saying are true, and they're also going to be temporary. But anyhow, I just wanted to bring that up because it's just something where I know there's not that many fans that they hear that feel good about that. So anyhow, because it's a long, hot summer, and the teams that really play good baseball are the ones. Now, I'm going to talk about the Cleveland Guardians for the minute because, man, they are just surprising. It's unbelievable what they're doing. Stephen Kwan doesn't play all the time, but he's hitting 381. And Jose Ramirez has 62 RBIs. Like, this is a team that probably will get overlooked for most of the season, Mike. But yet, that's a team that you never know. Like, we can name 3 or 4 teams that are better, but they're a pretty good team.
They're a pretty good team. They're a surprising team. They're getting offense from places that nobody expected. They're getting pitching from guys like BB.
Yep.
Who somebody I know picked him for one of our fantasy baseball teams. But they're sort of an under the radar team, but I don't know how they can get through the American League. I mean, okay, they're 43-22. That's the same record as the Orioles.
Right.
That's 4 games better than Seattle. They're not running away with the AL Central, but they're beating the team that a lot of people thought was going to win it, which was Minnesota. They're above them by 8.5 games.
Yeah.
So and they have the second or third best run differential in the American League. So they're you have to say that they're a surprise, obviously, but will it last? Thing is, they do have the pitching.
They do.
And when you have the pitching, you can. I mean, like if they go 500 the rest of the year, they're going to have over 100 victories. So
right.
They're in a great shape right now.
Nico, your thoughts?
Absolutely. I think we talked about the last show. I think I picked the Guardians to win the American League. They are a special team. A special team, what I mean by a very close knit team, family oriented. They kind of rally behind the spirit. Francona was there. He left, and the new young manager, they've really welcomed him, and they're kind of supporting him, and they really are rallying behind him with some in-depth all-star players like Jose Ramirez, hands down one of the top 5 players in the league, and
No question.
he's been that guy over the last 5 years at least, and he's carrying that team on his back, and he's got some help. A guy named Josh Naylor. Not too many people have put him on the radar, but he's an all-star, and he is a powerful all-star. He's nearly 17, 18 home runs now, probably close to 50 RBIs. So they're a 1-2 monster mash right there in the lineup, and with the good pitching, they're going to be right there in the very end.
One thing Mike mentioned, that because he mentioned the Twins had 24 hits today. Carlos Correa went 5 for 6. 24 hits. My God. It was just unbelievable. I saw that and I was like dumbfounded that you can get that many hits in a ball game. All right. So we can switch to the Yankees now, Mike, and they've been really good. I mean, not too many hiccups. They'll certainly be players at the deadline. I don't know if I think they could get to the World Series yet, but they certainly are leaps and bounds better than last year.
Well, I think that, I mean, the fact that they have the best record in the American League I think it's 48-21, and they're a couple games ahead of Philadelphia for the best record in baseball without their ace, without the Cy Young award-winning pitcher in Garrett Cole. And Cole is ramping up. It looks like he'll probably pitch in the majors. I think they'll be careful with them because they're not running away with the AL East, because Baltimore is an extremely good team. But they're in the lead in the American League East. They're not going to.
Yeah, you don't have to rush him in.
You don't have to rush him back because you want him for August, September, and October, and you want him at his optimum strength. And it sounds like he's back up to throwing like 97 miles an hour, and there's no pain in his arm. So it sounds like he's going to be back. I mean, the shocking thing here. I mean, okay, is it a shock that Aaron Judge got over 20 home runs and is hitting over 300 based on the fact that he was like 0 for April and then started hitting? It made a little bit of a surprise, but he's one of the best players in baseball. Is anybody surprised that Juan Soto is hitting over 300 and,
No.
making a very case to be the highest paid player in baseball? No, nobody's surprised. Luis Heel is the biggest surprise. This is a guy who right now, and I don't think this is hyperbole, I think he's the leading candidate for the American League Cy Young Award, and he came out of nowhere. I mean, I knew about him because, he had, I think it was a couple good months a few years ago that had Tommy John surgery. They got him, I believe it was from the Twins in a minor deal. And they've waited around for him. He's not a spring chicken. He's 26, I think 26 years old, but he's been absolutely lights out since the beginning of the year. And if you put together a 1-2-3 punch of Cole, Rodon, who's pitched really well, and Heel, I mean, that's among the best rotations in baseball.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think everything you said is actually accurate, and there's no homerism in that. Nico, what do you got about the Yankees?
I mean, who would have thunk it that the pitching actually be the Yankees' strength without Garrett Cole on the mound? But Mike is absolutely right. Gil is on the track to actually win an MVP and a Cy Young.
Oh, no. See, he's
pretty much carrying the Yankees on his back.
You always have to go that extra step, Nico. No, I mean, he's definitely the leader. He's definitely the leader for the Cy Young. He probably will start the All-Star game if he doesn't, have a couple bad starts. But MVP, the two guys who are leading for MVP are in the American League are batting second and third for the Yankees right now. So it's like you would have to be dominant like Pedro Martinez to be an MVP. And
Jose Ramirez will be in that voting too.
Oh yeah, no doubt. But I'm just saying, to be a pitcher to be in the MVP,
right?
That's Willie Hernandez, wasn't Willie Hernandez the last one to win the MVP as a pitcher?
Yes,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So I'll just say this though. The only skepticism that you may be right about, Russ, when it comes to them getting to the World Series is their bullpen. Now they do have
Yeah.
F. Ross coming back before the end of the year and Trevino coming back before the end of the year, but more than likely, if they go out and make a deal before the July 31st deadline, it's probably going to be for a setup guy behind Clay Holmes.
Yeah, the
And
Mets can trade him out of Vino. I trade him tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah, he was really great with the Red Sox a couple of years ago. But they need one strong eighth inning guy in the bullpen because they have a bunch of Luke Weavers and
Right,
Hamiltons who are
right.
okay, but I wouldn't trust them when you go into the playoffs.
Yeah, I still like the Orioles over them, and it's really
Mhm.
close. I mean, Gunnar Henderson, man, what a player! 21 homers. Uh, they have a really good lineup. They have good pitching. Like I said, they're close. It's like even though the Yankees are have that better record and seem like the much better team right now, the Orioles are staying close, and that's going to be an interesting thing.
Well, Roochman may be the best or one of the two or three best catchers in baseball, and he's hitting over 300.
Yeah,
And Henderson's got 21 home runs right now. But
yeah,
they've got five guys in double figures in home runs right now.
yeah.
So yeah, and
It's
and
potent.
that's even without the best prospect in baseball and Jackson Holiday even being ready. I mean, they gave him a chance. He wasn't ready, and he's hitting in AAA right now.
Yeah, he
But
hit he hit 105 for us, just so people know. So
yeah, but I mean, they don't
it's all
see
right.
that's the luxury that the Orioles have. They
Right.
don't need to rush them.
No, no, they're in good shape. Like they don't need to rush them, and that's a big key. Uh, so we move over to the National League, and I still like the Dodgers. They went and picked up Kevin Biggio, which is again the Dodgers preempting everybody, getting what they need. And Nico Otani's doing great. He's not going to pitch this year, but man, he's hitting great. And that team, that's a good team. That I don't know if they're the best team in baseball, but they might be.
They're definitely not the best team in baseball, and
Ah,
Otani is definitely not playing as great as he possibly could be. And I think he's struggling a little bit. I think this whole gambling situation is getting a little bit overwhelming for him. And then also just being a day-to-day hitter only, I think could be mentally kind of grinding on him.
that could
Um,
be. I mean, because he always did get a break with pitching. He's still having a great year. Actually, just to point out what kind of great year he had, I thought uh, he would be similar to Bryce Harper, who only played in like 100 games coming off of Tommy John, even though it's his second for Otani. And he's going to play like the whole season. So I don't know. I don't think he's struggling that bad.
no, but to me he's like a 20. I thought he was going to be like leading judge. Like they're going to be battling it out for the home run lead, as well as him hitting 380 or 390 since
Uh,
he's just a hitter. I expected much more from him.
but you wanted like George Sisler hitting numbers. Like, it's not going to
Well, I don't think
happen.
I,
I
I
mean,
don't think anybody
$700 million, Russ. I mean, what do you expect?
I don't think anybody's going to hit 420 like Sisler hit in 1920. But okay,
No.
but the miraculous thing about the Dodgers right now is that they have the best record in the National League, and no May, no Kershaw, no Gonsolin. I mean,
Or Urias too, right? They had him last
no,
year.
you're right. I mean, they're doing it right now. I mean, Yamamoto has been
Yeah.
worth the money that they paid him.
Yep.
They get Glasnow from Tampa Bay. He's been fantastic.
Who's
And
finally
then
healthy.
he's finally healthy, and then they've pieced together Gavin Stone and James Paxton. I mean, they've been able to piece together a rotation. I mean, Walker Bueller isn't even pitching very well right now.
No.
They're gonna probably get Kershaw back before the end of the year, and they probably go out and they get themselves another starter at the deadline. I mean that they have the research. They don't mind paying the extra luxury. They're a boatload. They're a bottomless pit of money. So they're going to throw money at it, and they're going to try to win a World Series that way, and they may be successful.
Yeah. Now we'll talk about the Phillies. Obviously I'm close in the area, see a lot. a lot of them. And JT Realmuto, is having surgery, but it's a good time of the year if you have to have surgery. It's going to hurt their lineup a bit, but he had been hurting for a few weeks. He's not been really hitting that great. Still, big loss because he does everything defensively and all that. So that'll be interesting to see how they deal with that. And then it's also going to be interesting to see. There's been a lot of discussion here about how to improve that team down the stretch. And the funny thing is probably the best way to do it is to actually get a first baseman. But then you're sitting Bryce Harper back in the DH role, and he kind of wants to be out there playing. And he's an okay first baseman, but he's not great. And so, like, my question to the table here round table here is, Mike, will the Phillies have the guts to sit Bryce Harper and get a first baseman so they could try and win a World Series? Will they do that?
No, I think what they're going to end up doing is if they do move Harper from first base to DH, then probably Schwarber has to go into the outfield because, they don't have much power as it is. I mean, Harper's got 15 and Schwarber's got 13. You've got to have both those guys, both those left-handed bats in the lineup against right-handed pitching. So you can't, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face if you take one of them out. So I think, but you're going to affect your team defense either way. Schwarber is a terrible outfielder.
He's a hack out there. I mean, he's got a great arm, but he can't field.
Yeah. Harper is at least an okay first baseman, so you might be able to get away with that. But they need an infusion of offense. I mean, I think
which is crazy because they actually are a pretty good offensive team. But right now, Alec Bohm's cooled off, and their second baseman's cooled off.
Yeah, so, the only one who's really, I'd say, earning his keep is Trey Turner at hitting 343 right now. But they need somebody in the middle of the lineup. I think their pitching is actually good enough. I mean,
Wheeler's got 8 wins. He's lights out.
Him and Nola and Sanchez and Suarez. Yeah. I mean, there's no problem with the rotation. Their bullpen.
Even Taijuan Walker's winning, although the fans don't like him, and I'm not sure the team likes him because he kind of held him over a barrel. To make sure he stayed. I know.
His ERA is double what Sanchez's is. His ERA is 5.4.
He's winning games, though.
I know.
But it is crazy. But they do have a pretty good team. I still don't like their bullpen. They have to me, they have to get a closer they can count on. I don't know.
They don't have competition with the Braves, kind of the loss of Acuna there and kind of the dive they're taking lately.
Well, I mean, the Braves lost everybody to injury. I mean, I can't kill them, but I'm just saying, and this is what I had to tell my own father, who's, 91 years old. I had to tell him, Alvarado stinks, Dad. And when you get in the playoffs, you don't want to have him in there. And he's like, no. He's been like good in like 36 straight games. And he got through a little bit. They got through the Braves. And then the next round, Alvarado was trash. And they can't, to me, Mike, do you think you can go with him in big series? No, I don't think so either.
No, I mean, they need to go out and find themselves a closer. I mean, there are enough closers out there on some bad teams that you'll be able to snag somebody. You may have to give up a pretty decent prospect, and there's going to be a lot of competition because that's the one thing about this whole playoff scenario that really sucks. There are so many teams that are lying to their fan base to say that they're actually in it, that they may actually not trade players at the deadline because of the fallacy that they're actually still in the playoff race. And that's the thing. It's like you'd be better off for your organization to go out and trade players that you probably can't re-sign and get prospects and build that way rather than lie to them and say, well, the Pittsburgh Pirates are still in the playoffs. No, they're not. They're not. I mean,
I would be worried because really the worst case scenario for that would be the Mets being like a half game out, a game out, and they don't trade Pete Alonso and they let him walk at the end of the year.
Right. And Nico, that's insanity. In a situation like this, when you're a team that does not have a realistic chance of winning a World Series, I'm not slagging on the Mets. I just don't think after they traded Scherzer and after they traded Verlander and they went into this season adding guys like Severino, that they were a legitimate, maybe they could sneak into the playoffs, but they weren't going to win the World Series. If they're 3 or 4 games out of the wild card on July 31st, you trade everything that's not nailed down. But do they think they'll do that? No.
No, I don't. think so because of Alonso. Alonso is a special, unique player for the Mets organization. He is
Then
a
sign him.
superstar,
Then
all-star.
sign him.
They're not going to be able to sign him until probably free agency. They're going to keep him. They're not going to trade him. They're going to ride it out. And if they do have their only 3.5 games of this playoff, they don't have to worry about the Atlanta Braves. If they can sneak into the playoff picture,
There's still 4 teams
with
ahead of them. It's
Peterson.
not like forget the
Well,
Braves. There'll be other
here's
teams.
the thing. We're looking at that wild card. This is the spot we're looking at just to get in. If Peterson is Peterson that we saw the last couple of outings, and they can get some pitching from Senga coming back, they can get some wins. They can get into the place.
Senga hasn't even pitched an inning. They said it was a mild strain in spring training, and we're almost at the end of June.
Now,
it's insane.
You know what
I haven't worn my Senga shirt all year, by the way, just because of that.
What would be typical Mets, Russ, is that they waste all this time, babying him and making, and then he has Tommy John surgery.
Right. Well, I will tell you this: the only positive of Senga not pitching is that he can't opt out because he needed something like 450 innings or so, 200. I think what was it? I think it was an average. I think he needed 300 and something innings for the 2 seasons, and he can't do that because he's not going to pitch enough this year. So he won't be able to opt out next year. But yeah, that's a great point. Peterson, hey, so far he looks good, Nico, but he's never been able to look good for like 10 starts, 12 starts. So first couple, nice to see. And I think last year he kind of got pushed aside when they signed all those arms. So we'll see. Maybe Peterson will surprise, but they still have other issues. They're trying to say that they're going to put Beatty at second base. Yeah, right. Okay. Right now, Vientos, not really a third baseman, but he's got a little better bat than Beatty at the moment, so they're letting him hit. At some point, they're going to have to do something about that unless they trade JD Martinez and they just put Vientos at DH. They might do that.
Maybe they'll trade Beatty to London since London is so much cleaner than New York.
I could see, even if the Mets are in it, Mike, I could see them trading Martinez simply because he's just a 1-year guy and they'll do that. But the Alonso thing's going to bug everybody because Nico's right. He probably isn't going to get traded. He is going to test free agency. And then all through the winter, Met fans are going to be agonizing. And I'll be one of them. I'll be honest. To see if he's going to come back and sign with the team, even though they could offer him the most money now, and they haven't. And they could have offered him the most money a year ago, and they haven't. And David Stearns really doesn't even seem like he really likes him that much as a player. But again, probably would sign him if the dollars are right. But he wants $200 million, and so they're going to have to at least pony up 200.
And that's a steal of a deal.
Steele, no, he's older. I mean, I think he's going to be 27. He's 28. I don't think it's a steal anymore. I still think it's a good deal. It's hard to say that's a good deal for anybody for that kind of money, but I think it would be because he's a premier home run hitter in the league, and he's always gonna be. And he's an excellent first baseman. Like this year at first base, with the guys that they put in this infield, with Iglesias included, you'd rather have Julio Iglesias. I mean, it's brutal. Or is it Enrique? It's both of them, right?
No, that's my father and sons, yeah.
Right, yeah. So either one of them I'd rather have.
But Alonso is 29 years old.
Yeah, he's 29.
So next year he starts as a 30-year-old.
Right.
If you're the Mets, you're probably going to have to sign him to a 5 or 6 year deal, and that's probably what he's going to get in free agency.
He wants more. He wants like 8 to 10.
Well, I mean that's the reason. That's the reason why they may walk away.
Right.
I don't know who is going to offer him an 8, 9, or 10-year deal.
Nobody will do that. They'll just go for the higher dollars.
Right.
No, I think the Mets will give him his 10 years.
I don't think so.
$200 million, and call it a day.
No, he won't take 10 years, $200 million. That's the problem.
Yeah. No, I mean he's going to probably want 30 to 35 million a year.
Right.
So that's
he's only going to get 5 years, so it's a teeter-totter.
Right. I mean, that's the delicate, and Russ is it Boris? That's his agent.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Boris is going to screw him like he screwed the guys this year. Ask him how the pitcher. Ask him how the two-time Blake Snell is doing,
Blake Snell,
or Montgomery, or and all those things turned out real. And Chapman, all those things turned out really well.
Those are the worst contracts ever for any free agency. They basically have broken free agency because now they have to prove themselves again, which basically eliminates the point of free agency.
Right. No, you're right about that, Nico. That was horrible. But I think Alonso's a different deal here because it's going to be hard to screw up a guy who can hit home runs the way he does and field the way he does. Like that's,
I'll just say this, and I keep pointing at this, and maybe I'm wrong. I think the focus for the Yankees is going to be Soto, and obviously it should be based on the way he's playing. And I think in the end they'll end up ponying up. But Anthony Rizzo is a free agent at the end of this year. And if you have the chance, if you're Alonso, to basically go from Queens to the Bronx and get paid maybe what now I don't know if he's going to get that long-term deal, Russ. Maybe he won't. But
he won't.
If he has to go the route of Snell and Montgomery and Chapman and take a shorter-term deal,
he's not going to do that.
I don't think so either. But I mean, there's going to have to be a balancing
the problem with
here.
him going there is he is not going to want to be like third fiddle, even though Stanton's not that great. I'm sure he could deal with being behind Judge, but he's not going to want to like be behind Stanton. And start that,
he wouldn't be behind Stanton. He'd be behind Soto and Judge.
Well, Soto and Judge, fine, but he could look. Stanton's still going to be there. That's a problem too. So where he's going to hit in the lineup is going to be an issue.
They may find a way of getting rid. The thing is, they may find a way of getting rid of Stanton after next year because he's actually hit this. He's hit this year. I think he only has 2 years left in the contract. They might eat money to get rid of him if they have a chance to add another quality bat.
Yeah.
And have to pay Soto.
I don't discount what you say, but I think the problem is I don't think Pete's going to want to go there and be like the third bat. I don't think so.
That's realistic.
So I think he'll find a place that'll give him, whether it's 180 or that 200 or maybe even a little more. And then, the Mets it's going to be up to the Mets in the end. And I do worry that Stearns is going to find a way to get out of this just because he's not like he's inherited Alonso. And like, that's a bad thing, but it's so weird. They haven't really spoken. There's no real relationship there. There is with Cohen and Alonso, obviously, and there is with Lindor and some of the players in Alonso. So that there's always that draw. And I do believe Alonso's loyal to the organization in the sense that he's happy that they stuck with him all this time and he became a star in New York. But listen, the Met fans have seen this too many times, way too many times. Like, I wrote a book about the Mets and, some of the guys who were leading the team in like home runs and other things that were on the cover are still there. And Alonso's getting close. Like he's getting close to, Darryl Strawberry and homers and everything else, but he'll probably sign somewhere else before that happens. Cause that's just what happens with the Met players. Like that just seems like that's what it is. So we'll see. The book's called Numbers Don't Lie. But anyhow,
Russ, I can add to that too, because at one point the Mets had the greatest player to ever play the game, and they actually traded him away, not knowing exactly what they had for an older 36-year-old second baseman who couldn't hit a home run or even run and steal a base.
Wait,
Tommy Herr.
So you're going with the Tommy Herr trade. I thought you were going to set it up for Nolan Ryan, but you went with Tommy Herr for Nico Riesgo. I get it.
The greatest of all time, Russ.
I get it.
They had me.
A legend in his own mind.
What'd you have? 20-something steals in A-ball, and you led the league, right?
I think it was 46, Russ.
46. Sorry.
Check your numbers. Numbers don't lie.
I have your baseball card somewhere, but I don't memorize your numbers. Sorry. Major League numbers, I do.
You wrote the book, Russ.
I know we have the book Strike 3. We do, but I can't remember everything. I can't. But no, you were a heck of a player. Tommy Herr was old, no question about it. That was a mistake. Who knows? Who knows what might have been? But all right, that's it. That's it for the game. We'll catch everybody next time.
My man.